Yeah, and Teammate was at a point where even PorpoisePops was saying that their lane phase is passable, but their team fights are where they excel. Coast is pretty much the opposite. Coast had excellent laning phase, and then their team fights were very poor. But now Team 8 have kind of lost their edge in team fights. They can't just go off, like you said, mechanical skill or calls. You have to have the right situation for your team fight.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. These situations can be created for both these squads. Nidalee and Morgana dropped away by Team Coast. Bans no Zed for Mancloud. I think that's very smart. And no Lissandra here for Cris or Mancloud either.
Ban away Mancloud's champion pool, make him a little uncomfortable, and take away his snowball champions from the mid. Would also assume to see an Irelia ban here unless Team 8 wants to take it, because Cris has good performances on that champion when he does have good performances.
Yeah, this would be the one matchup in the LCS where Irelia would be worth first picking over in North America, because both of these teams seem to be able to play around a top lane hyper carry. CaliTrolz and Cris both good at that. Well, almost the entire lineup of Team Coast from last game just got banned by Team 8, both solo laners, the Zed and Cast, and go away. And now what does Cris want to play? Graves, no, is going to come in for a mash. All AD carries available, but that's the first pick.
I'm really surprised. We haven't seen a lot of Kalista today. Kalista's been left open in a couple matchups.
Yeah.
It was left open in the C9 CLG game and wasn't picked up there. So, really surprised. But they do pick up the Graves, which is very good against Kalista. So it stops you from, it discourages you from picking up that pick.
Teammate just grabbed the Irelia, by the way, also one of the champions good against Kalista. Maybe they set up maplestreet for that pick himself, but CaliTrolz wants that 1v1 potential. And the thing is, Teammate have played around the CaliTrolz solo carry enough that I think they're actually good at the split pushing style. I see a number of teams just not really know how to play around top lane carries anymore because they're so used to playing these team fighting styles, the objective control styles, but you can play around the split pusher. Teammate set up to do that here.
So Irelia has been banned against Team 8 5 out of their 10 games, and he picked it in 2 of them. And it was against TSM where they got a victory, and against Cloud9 where they had a decent game but ended up losing. So CaliTrolz had a great time when he ended up getting handed off the red buff by PorpoisePops, and then they ganked Iris top. So this is a champion that he knows how to snowball with if they get him ahead, and they also get a high priority jungler of PorpoisePops on that Jarvan, which he's only gotten 3 times this season because it's banned all the time.
Oh, he's going to get that for himself, but more champions coming in for Coast, though. The Rek'Sai comes back in for Impaler, and an Ahri for Mancloud. Can't keep him down for long. This is a champion he's got to know how to play well.
Yeah, it's another snowball assassin mid lane champion that he can take over a game with if the opponent missteps. Rek'Sai gives him a lot of early game pressure too in the jungle from Impaler, so this allows him to close distances very early and still have his knockup and CC available for ganks.
Yeah. You know what's really funny about this is Ahri is the one assassin champion that Jesses did actually play, and there are multiple times Coast had the option of playing it and didn't. So with them talking about wanting to play a more aggressive style and all that, they just didn't do it in the weeks before. Slooshi, though, going to get a LeBlanc for himself to match that fight, and a Thresh for support.
This is a very all-in composition here from Team 8. This is a forward momentum. They want to rush into you. I would not be surprised to see maplestreet pick up a Sivir here.
And just help them all run in. Yeah, could make a whole bunch of sense. He's not playing Draven. Graves already got clicked, guys. Like, at least expect the meta to a certain extent. They need a support. Shaco is not that.
It's top lane Rek'Sai and Impaler on Shaco. Or Shaka.
I don't remember actually which way it is. But yeah, they need themselves most likely a top laner. Mash is not CaliTrolz. Malphite would be very interesting to get picked up. Maokai does make much more sense. So actually, a pretty good defensive setup here actually for Coast. Just with the Maokai being a defensive tank, the Janna for disengage.
Yeah, they have a lot of options here on Coast's team. They can disengage, they can engage, they can peel and lock down. So very well-rounded composition here, and they don't suffer from a lack of wave clear either.
All right, so Coast may be a little bit well-rounded with this whole matchup. Maokai top lane, Ahri mid. For what it's worth, I have seen LeBlanc tops in solo queue. It's not super common and competitive, but I always want to think that maybe it's there for Teammate to play.
It's like that old Alistar where you would headbutt auto attack. I see the LeBlancs rush a Trinity Force, W in auto with the Trinity Force proc, and then go back.
Yep.
It's just constant trading. It's not going to happen, but
no.
Anyway.
It's unlikely here, but you got to see what Teammate wants to go for with this team composition. You said a Sivir would make a whole bunch of sense. They do need themselves an AD carry, and it is. Good call there, Zirene. Now, they do have some ways to pick fights because they can lantern out. Most of these guys can escape. They can Sivir ult away. Team Coast kind of similarly, a very mobile team composition with an in and an out button.
Yeah, you want to get to the back line here and pretty much just get to the Ahri, get to the Graves, but Janna's definitely going to dissuade you from doing that and prevent you from doing that a bunch as well. So this is actually a more like a Coast, even with Jesses on it, team composition from Coast.
Yeah, it's all things you expect them to play here. And what's going to be interesting to me as well is watching some of the various lane matchups. Irelia is such a great hyper carry, getting a 1v1. What also interests me as an AD carry player is this bot lane matchup. So it is possible for Sivir Thresh to win, but I think Graves Janna has a small edge. The reason being, a couple of AD carries have been like, oh, you know, you just spell shield the buckshot and Sivir's going to be fine. But realistically, you can't reliably land all those spell shields, and otherwise you're just going to get poked out for a while, and you have to somehow land a Thresh hook with people playing around minions. So a lot of outplay potential is, I think, required for T8 to do well in many of these lanes.
I want to see if the lane swap comes out here too. Because when you're up against Team Coast, you usually think in lane swap. Or sorry, Team8, you usually think lane swap to keep CaliTrolz down. But they have shown that they can do a 4-man dive and get him rolling as well.
Yeah, I want to see which way they actually go with that one. Of course, it's going to be a bunch of a fun game to watch. That was grammar. We're going to be checking in with you guys throughout the game that'll get your predictions, so be sure to send us hashtag CST win or hashtag T8 win to @LOL Esports. We will check in throughout the game to see how that poll stands. Guys, we are ready to go for Game 4 right here. Team Coast looking to climb out the bottom of the standings. Team 8 looking to make their way into playoff position with a game like this.
And although this is a Team Coast composition that I said looks like something that they would have with Jesses on it, the fact that it's the same type of composition, they're really looking for Mancloud's style to define this mid lane in this matchup.
We'll see if that style's going to work out. Impaler says the team is trying to shake off their passive approach, and in an effort, they're going to try to recapture a strong early game.
We need to start playing like more proactively. We're just kind of rolling over and dying. I mean, at the start of the season, we'd be ahead all the time and then lose, but now we're just not getting there in the first place. So we just need to make more plays in lane phase and come out ahead far enough where we can just win the game.
Well, they've got a chance at some of those lane matchups. As I said, I think Graves Janna could be pretty good in the 2-on-2. And if they do lane swap, Irelia is a pretty miserable lane swap champion. So you do expect this to go well for Coast based on the lineup, but execution is always important.
Yeah, Team8, you have multiple options in a lane swap. Of course, it's not always just clear cut. You can have your top laner TP in and soak up experience. And Irelia, like you said, it's kind of miserable for her. Team8 strikes me more of the 4-0 back when it was the buddy system jungle, where CaliTrolz will just stick with PorpoisePops, then they'll 4-man the top lane, and if the enemy top laner showed up, they'll kill him.
This is cute. Team8, they walked MapleStreet through a ward and then recalled him. He's going to head top lane right here. Now, you notice that what Team8 did is actually they put 2 wards down with their invade, right? They watched the Janna, and if they went for the recall play, they'd see her recall with the second trinket here. So Team8 able to match the lanes as they wish. They will, in fact, find the 2-on-2. And an early teleport from CaliTrolz Irelia means he'll be right there for the first bit of experience.
And that's the thing, too, is they won't actually know that his TP is down, so they can't keep that timer.
They don't see him walk to lane. They might guess that he TP'd.
Yeah, but you could always walk through river.
That's true. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
If you're not 100% sure,
do you really say it's down?
Yeah,
That's
it's
fair.
kind of rough. So he's going to fast push this lane. He's going to force the TP out of Cris and shove it all the way up to the turret.
Well, it's a level 2 Maokai all the same, so he's going to be nice and happy. He's going to get, okay, some of this goes under the turret. Whatever. Reset lane, a small XP lead for Cris all the same, and honestly, with the fact that Cris has extra potions coming into the lane because he got the TP in later with a bunch of gold, you expect that matchup to actually go Coast's way, which is exactly what they wanted to have happen.
He actually came in with only health potions and a ward. So he has 5 health potions, a ward, and a Doran's ring. So he doesn't have mana potion, so he's not looking to bully him out by casting spells. He's looking to just try and trade with his inventory and then eventually bully him out. It's a very long process to do that.
Yeah, that is the interesting thing, right, is because you've got all this extra health, you can take the, like, 45, 55 fights where you would go behind in health, but you've got more to back yourself up, so who cares? The ward also allows him to play aggressively and not get ganked by Porpoise, who, unfortunately, he's on your screen, had a bit of a mouse issue in the game as well, so he's going to fix his settings up, and hopefully we get ourselves back into the game soon. But yeah, Coast, they are so focused on early game. They do have good lanes. Now, that said, Team8 found the lane matchups they wanted, right? Better ward play, nice little cheeky recall from the Sivir. Theoretically, this is what Team8 wanted.
And when I'm thinking about what Impaler said just a second ago, where they don't want to roll over because that's what they've been doing recently, I want to see a lot of fight out of this Coast team. I want to see them go really hard and try to just bash heads with Team 8.
That's kind of what you expect, though.
Yeah.
Right? Team 8 just goes hard all the time. Coast's going to be looking to do the same thing. The question always has been for these teams is how intelligent are those fights? Because it's always a game of information and misinformation and making assumptions, essentially, where it's like, we think it's a 5v4, so we can take the fight even with a bit of health lost. And if you don't know they're actually around and ready to counter-engage on you, that can be tricky.
And that's the prep. That's the pushing side minion wave so somebody has to deal with it. That's the taking of a turret and getting deeper vision. That's what allows you to pick those fights with more knowledge.
And we'll see if these teams can do this halfway through the season here. Game 10 for both of these squads. Looking to make their way towards the top 6 for a playoff position. Mash already trading with Maple. And getting a good amount of health down off that Sivir.
And right now, the fact that they got the 2-on-2 lane here means that CaliTrolz isn't put behind. He gets all the CS that a top laner would want. And Irelia, you want those items. You want to hit those spikes as soon as possible so that you're relevant and that you can get to that backline. Because lane swaps definitely hurt her a bunch. More so than most top laners. Just sit there and just scale up. It's like Mundo, I'm going to be Mundo no matter what. Maokai, I'm going to be Maokai no matter what.
Yeah.
Irelia needs gold and needs those items.
And I think it is a factor of having some kind of ranged farming tools. It's like, you know, Mundo can and hooks like that can land as well. Mash going to take a whole bunch of damage. Nice tornado slows down Dodo, and Spell Shield means nothing.
They do get Mash's potion very early on. Impaler is in this top lane, though. They don't have this warded.
Very tricky, and Dodo...
He's going to wait his cooldown on his tunnel.
He'll probably ward River, but nothing else. He will not see Impaler coming in. They're looking for this right now. Tunnels up in 2 seconds. Goes for the knock-up onto Maple. Spell Shield means almost nothing. A lot of burst comes out. Buckshot does get shielded, but First Blood comes through to Sheep, and out goes Coast.
Doesn't even have to wait for the tunnel cooldowns just to get him out there. So Impaler making a very early, very aggressive move.
Beautiful stuff right there. Porpoise just stuck in his own jungle, being sad. Impaler actually hasn't even recalled yet, so that all happened off of his first clear. Well done.
Porpoise, he's just going to be able to get some vision for his team. But the fact that Impaler is able to make those moves bodes very well for Coast, because they can leave Mancloud on this island in the mid lane, and eventually, without attention,
the root's going to land. He's going to force the flash. They do not choose a turret dive.
Nope.
Okay, with the root, they don't go for the Jarvan EQ. Mancloud stays alive, but without flash makes it really risky.
PorpoisePops. He could flash EQ in there and close the distance, but it's a very risky move, and Mancloud's going to play a little more defensive. PorpoisePops is kind of just waiting for Mancloud to go too far up.
Unfortunately, it's not going to be a freeze, so this is just going to be experience and gold visibly there. Wow, Porpoise barely sneaks by vision.
Then Jarvan is just scooting up against the wall past it.
He's been dieting. This has been fed in a long time. I mean, jungler, no
he's
money.
He's banned all the time. He hasn't been fed in a very long time.
Oh, poor guy. It's weird, though, because you feel like the armor would shrink, too. Or wouldn't shrink, but somehow it just compresses around him, and he's going to be fine. Team Coast, First Blood looks nice. The AD carry got to back for a pickaxe, so there's a 17 attack damage lead. In the lane, Slooshi again landing some nice skill shots and trying to wear down Mancloud. And he's up 8 CS right now for it.
That tether range is really good. He's getting great trades, very favorable. He still has his biscuits, too. So Slooshi can take some extra damage and basically just go pound for pound with Mancloud, but Mancloud doesn't have as much left in his inventory to deal with it. So Slooshi could actually force Mancloud out over time.
One thing that concerns me for Slooshi's sake, though, is I believe he's going to be late to level 6 because his jungler leads some experience. Porpoise, when he was around there on the side lane, you're seeing that Mancloud actually wants to back, maybe even for that level 6 spike, pushing that in. And with maybe a Fiendish Codex could go for a fight.
He might actually stay for a little bit more and actually just shove this wave out and get himself level 6 before he backs. So
Mancloud right now is itemizing for the extra health and whatnot. Does not want to get burst out here with the extra Doran's Ring. Slooshi's still slowly clearing waves in front of his turret. No rush in his own recall.
There's the 6 for him. And now he actually doesn't. So he's up against the Doran's Ring and an Amp Tome.
Yeah. It's not a ton of extra stats, but you don't really want to be at an item deficit. There's nothing big that he couldn't buy already. Fiendish Codex, he's got plenty of money for it. Oh, that charm was nice.
Nice. Good charm there from Mancloud. Slooshi's very close to a needlessly large rod, so he might save up for that and might go all in on it. Because he just definitely out APs Mancloud.
That's fair.
If that's going to be the rush here instead of having a sustain item for your mana pool.
Play around that does not get the sigil proc, I believe, from the Q. That timed out for too long. So nothing doing there. We do have Impaler, though, sneaking into this top lane.
He knows Flash is down on Maple Street. Dodo would have to play a little further back, but this is how Teammate got bit a loss previously, is that Dodo and Maple Street stand right next to each other when they're checking stuff.
That's true. They got to be worried about that one. Dodo, he is right now playing a bit towards the back. You're seeing has no reason to trigger target on stacks, no reason to look for a trade either. So he's just going to play defensively.
Oh.
Blue trinket to watch for an enemy jungler.
That might give them the safety because it looks like they're playing defensively.
A defensive ward by a sheep that doesn't need to be used, of course. It was
going
in. And in comes Impaler. Spell shield is there. There's a lantern. Dodo played far enough back.
Impaler didn't unburrow to pop the spell shield at all because it's not worth it.
Good job by everyone involved then by Team 8. They get away from the clever gank attempt by Team Coast. The outplays just weren't quite there.
Spent a lot of time there, and PorpoisePops has basically only been able to back off of that, farm some extra camps. You can see his CS is higher, and he hasn't been taking any lane CS either. He's just been farming his jungle up. So overall, PorpoisePops is actually getting the better of this.
He's doing quite nicely. Slooshi as well, going for a battle, but without many ability power items, you don't expect him to win this fight by much. Ignite used by Mancloud. He knows which one's real, but Mancloud without mana, as you mentioned, unable to follow up. If he had ulti, that was a dead Slooshi.
That's true. Didn't have enough mana to cast that. Now, Cali's still just bullying Cris out. I know that these guys actually go back to solo queue together. I was talking with Cali, and he doesn't have anybody on his ignore list except for Cris. Cris just trolled him one time, and he just couldn't handle it. So he does not like losing to Cris. Does not like losing lane to him, especially.
Yeah. Well, so far this season, he's up against him.
Yep. Likes to go very aggressive.
Well, the Sheen first Irelia, 2 points in stun, 3 in He-10 style. Kind of an interesting mix, not one I've seen before, but mix the sustain and the stun duration to try to bully the lane out. We'll see how that progresses, but right now that lane about equal farm-wise. So those two solo laners just trading blows equivalently. Mancloud will get his first blue of the game. Pretty secure there. And as you mentioned, needlessly large rod was the pickup here for Slooshi. Boots of speed as well and an extra ward. So was not punished for staying in lane for a very long time. It's a bunch of ability power because of it.
Impaler once again looking towards that top lane for ganks. He just keeps camping up there, and if Slooshi can outduel Mancloud, it's going to be a big problem for Coast.
Well, speaking of outdueling though, CaliTrolz, yeah, doing good work on Cris as well. So the dual lane, it was nice for Coast. The all in out of the turret. That's the kill for Slooshi. Ult by Mancloud means nothing.
They looked for more variance in the mid lane. They're getting it right now. Slooshi solo killing Mancloud. And now PorpoisePops is here to apply the pressure. They saw that Impaler was top, so they get to make these aggressive moves across the map.
Absolutely great play by teammate Porpoise, but there you go. Gets rid of it, stops down the attack speed buff, and Troy's going to lose a whole bunch of health. Impaler shows, and teammate doesn't really have to care whatsoever. Impaler knows he can die if he tries anything. And teammate will use this lane lead to almost knock down the turret. Unwilling to tank damage, though.
Question is, do they fast push it, or do they delay the laning phase even more?
Well, speaking of laning phase, though, CaliTrolz, yeah, I don't think you can dive Cris just yet. But it's actually starting to work better and better for teammate. Look how far up CaliTrolz is playing.
Slooshi just goes in with his W. Still gets hit by the charm, but gets the damage of his Mimic Distortion off. And goes back to his original distortion. Oh, look at this, though. They're trying to converge, but CaliTrolz.
He has already burned his flash, but in comes everyone else. That's the kill picked up. Porpoise spawns the ulti. The fight's not quite enough. In comes Slooshi. They trade 1 for 1. Impaler will get rooted as well, which should make this a 2 for 1. And Slooshi starts the game 3-0.
In the middle of the tunnel. Picks him up there. Now they're going to get some damage on this bottom lane turret. They did take out that mid turret at the same time due to the minion push, and then Slooshi roamed.
And the pressure being alleviated off Slooshi. That's the kind of plays that Coast wish their mid laner can make right here. Sheep, though,
OTP.
Hooked in, hits the box as well, and in comes CaliTrolz teammate all around the map making plays. Sheep forced to flash away.
So 2 turrets falling to teammate off of this map pressure that they've applied. Knowing where Impaler was gave them that information so that they could make these aggressive moves and then avoid where he was. Cali goes a little over aggressive, TP's top after his death, And now he ends up rotating towards the mid lane to try and deal. Oh,
Wow.
Ooh. I say there's teleport advantage for Cris, but not anymore. They do trade that mid lane turret for all of that aggression.
Hold on, CaliTrolz so happy to play aggressively even more. Mancloud ulti is up, as is the flash. Impaler gets the knock on CaliTrolz. In comes the re-engage. There's the kill picked up. Over aggression again.
Yep, over-aggressive mid plays is what's going to bite Teammate and bite CaliTrolz in particular. And if he starts getting behind like this, it's really on Slooshi to carry the game. We've seen him carry with Orianna. We've seen him carry with Lissandra before. Now we're going to have to see if he can carry on this LeBlanc and not get hit out by Charms later on.
Well, a good way to do that is a 12-minute Rabadon's Death Cap.
Yes, that is definitely the way to do it.
So, ability power here. Mana regen, check. You got a blue buff. Teammate staying alive so you can capitalize. That's the question here, and they need to be able to play around Slooshi. Yeah. When's the last time you saw that happen for LeBlanc? Not what I've seen before.
You have to be at that item breakpoint very early on before the minions start scaling up.
Impaler there with a nice play there. He had already controlled the Scuttler, so they know there's likely no vision here. Sheep even participates over the wall with a nice shield, and Impaler should get a nice, safe Dragon solo as maplestreet pushes top. Now this is almost a turret death for the Dragon attempt, but really not too bad. Even gets out through his own tunnel.
So Coaster doing a good job of trying to get what they can for the pressure that Teammate is exerting all over the map, because you can't be everywhere at once. And he can't cover everything at once either. So Slooshi, since those mid turrets are gone, he's free to roam. You can see the map coverage, the ward coverage right now from Teammate. It's actually really good. They have pink wards lining the map, lining defensive places. They should slowly move those lines up, because Coast have been denied wards in their jungle.
They have the CaliTrolz, though, doesn't want to get denied his own turret, though, and is going to be fighting, but knocked back in by Sheep. The YOLO Janna, but that's going to be an ignite, and down he goes. Sheep gets the kill with fire. The bot lane turret now under fire.
3 people strong in this bot lane. The wraparound from Sheep was gorgeous.
Absolutely.
That was crazy. Just the Janna positioning herself for that knockback. Absolutely love it.
The unfortunate thing for Coast, though, is that Sheep is the one getting all the kills.
Yeah.
He's got 2 of the 4.
I mean, he deserves it.
That's true, though.
Coming up from behind, CaliTrolz looked like he wanted to chase it out. He does have a good play here with the Q to Sheep, avoiding the collateral damage, but they ignite in the Zephyr. Fade away Zephyr there. Gives him the bird.
Well, Slooshi, though.
Placing a ward and jumping back.
Good.
He's getting that deep vision without a huge amount of risk because he knows where Mancloud was.
Yeah, but that's the kind of things that Teammate need to use. They've already knocked down all 3 outer turrets. The next wave is so much harder. Look, you can rotate over to a lane and shove it down to your jungler. That's not too hard to do. The next ones, though, they got shields. The rotations are easier for the enemies. This is the test.
Both junglers are at top right now. There's a pink ward in this bush, though. So PorpoisePops is going to have to wrap around this. They did not see him.
A nice safety by Cris to say, you know what? I don't know where Porpoise is. I don't want to sweep that ward out. I'll wait to see if Impaler can make some plays.
You actually hide both tunnels in there, and you can't see the middle portion of it. But that's a good tunnel placement when you're in lane. Wow.
Mancloud forced to ult away. Slooshi just hops right on back. It's a 40 CS lead in the mid lane. Death Cap and now half of Morellonomicon as well, but Teammate coming to rejoin this top lane push. They try to send a 3-man versus 3-man. The hook's going to land on a Cris, and in comes the fight. Porpoise going to ult 2 members in. No ult for Sheep means this could be a very easy fight. In comes the dive. There's Impaler dropping down. Sheep's got nowhere to go either. That's a second kill for the jungler. 2-0-2 for Porpoise, and now Cris gets spotted. By the way, Slooshi is fed if you didn't know. Krugs? Oh my god, yes. The most stylish kill I've seen in the NALCS goes to Slooshi.
Even their jungle's on their side. That was beautiful. The top lane play there, Dodo landing that hook was very crucial. Cris had his flash, decides to take it, and then Impaler actually can't get away. The Cataclysm locks him up from getting that extra inch to his tunnel. It was so close. If her claws were just a little longer on Rek'Sai, she could reach it.
Unfortunately, she filed her nails down last weekend and just couldn't quite claw into the edge of it. So 2-kill lead for Teammate. They're still up 2 turrets as well. These guys hold a pretty sizable lead for 16 minutes into the game. It's a 4-0 Slooshi. The gold's going to seemingly the right places. Farm seems fine across the board as well. I can't really find any major missteps so far. That might be an Achilles heel for Teammate.
CaliTrolz and over-aggression.
Okay,
is
yeah,
the thing that'll
that's
bite
one.
them. if they continue to play the way that they are, they're going to really have to just look at Slooshi and hope the kills keep falling onto him. That's the thing here for T8. That's the caveat. Slooshi does see this.
Oh, good smite.
Smite.
Catches the ward that saw it in the first place, so just fine here for Coast. Impaler got 2 kills, Sheep still with 2 himself, and his ulti and summons are back up, so maybe more playmaking, more YOLO could happen here.
Nope. CaliTrolz going aggressive on Cris. Slooshi is wrapping around this, but he's not going to be there in time.
All right, so just defense from everyone. They're going to be fine.
Coast, they don't want to roll over, and it's starting to happen again. You can see the ward lines start pushing up from Team 8. They are now slowly encroaching on the territory of Coast's jungle on that left side. They're getting closer and closer to these tier 2s and the ability to rotate and take objectives easier.
So Team 8, the deeper wards come in. The Dragons, it's hard to get the exact time. I think they have ways of inferring it if they're pressing tab at the right times. They know a rough Dragon timer here. It was taken in Fog of War, but there are clues that exist.
Or you saw your lane opponent just have the Dragon come down on them.
Yeah, so assuming they were keeping close tabs of things, they should know a decent timer for this one. 1 minute on Dragon. Blue buff will still be on Slooshi while that comes up. And with a 4-0 Morella Namakan Death Cap LeBlanc, you expect him to be able to make a lot of plays for that. So far, the AD carry is just wave clearing in the distance, but getting minion waves under control is a good way to make sure you can take a Dragon safely.
And they're rotating immediately towards this turret. They're getting the ward coverage they need on Team 8's side to make these types of plays. Coast, though, it's really hard to make aggressive moves when you're this behind on a LeBlanc this early on.
Yeah.
Because all the gold is funneled on her. Coast, granted, they do have gold, right? They have kills. Like you said, 2 of them are on Sheep.
Yeah. That money went into Moby Boots and a Chalice, which, hey, is nice, but Janna is not going to always run out of mana anyway. You're not even looking to target her in the first place.
Oh, Porpoise is here.
Could be useless. Cris gets jumped on. There's the ult again from Porpoise. He's just going to auto-attack him slowly but surely. There's the kill. CaliTrolz tanked aggro and Impaler. Oh, he's going to flash away, and the chase still lands from Slooshi. No kill to be had. Dragon's up in 10 seconds.
Man, Slooshi with the golden chains this game. They look like they have a little bigger hitbox than normal.
Hey, he's doing a really good job of that one. One more wave to get pushed out. Nice and safe. Dragon's back up.
Meanwhile, MapleStreet's going to shove this mid-wave in so that they have the option of rotating towards that at any given time. Oh, didn't see it. Wait.
Oh, nope. Nothing now. Rek'Sai opens by. Impaler takes some damage for his troubles, but
welcome to the jungle.
Boomerang Blade. Yeah! Down goes the wave, and as you mentioned, the easy rotate. Dragon's up, Team 8. Gonna go ahead and take that basically off the respawn. That's, I would say, a fairly smart choice. Get it off the map.
Cris is not here just yet. He does have his teleport. They have to clear this mid-wave out. It's going to reach the turret, so they're just going to let it clash against that. Dodo checks the brush.
Maybe a bit too far looking for wards here, but they expect the team can back them up. Impaler might look
Watch
to the play.
TP.
Burrows in, does not land the smite. In comes the battle, though. Cris in the front lines. Impaler, 1 hit from dead, and CaliTrolz is going to make sure that one happens. 2 kills picked up, a trade on a Dodo, but make that 3 for 1 in this fight. Cris now the 4th one to drop, and Team 8 crushed that battle.
They were just handed a terrible team fight by Coast. The teleport still went in, and Impaler still went into the pit. They're not rolling over, but they're handing them more.
Not the kind of fight you want to take here. So Team 8 now, what can they get off this one? Actually, they might just blow up MASH.
But speaking of blowing up, Sheep. Boom, he's gone. And we have to run that in super slow motion because the hook doesn't even get time to land. That is all Slooshi right there. Then they complete the TP. Cris goes in, and Impaler too. Impaler's already wiped off the face of the rift. And they pick up a 4 for 1 just trading their support. And now they get even more map pressure, and they get to control waves and vision.
Yeah, really strange that they chose to go in on this in the first place. They're not the best hard engaged team. It's a defensive tank. It's a defensive support. Look, you can poke him with Ahri and Graves, but that's kind of it. That's your engage potential. And Coast limping in definitely gave away more than they needed to.
When you walk right into the hard engaged team, you allow the hard engaged team more or less margin for error for actually missing their abilities.
Yeah.
Like you're right in front of a Jarvan, he can EQ you, and he doesn't have to sacrifice the damage of EQing to close the gap to get to you.
Right.
It's the same thing with LeBlanc. You don't have to mimic your distortion to just QE somebody. Now you get to use all those abilities right on top of somebody.
Yeah, and the pain is real when that happens here. So Team 8 exploding these poor champions. Looked like the magic just on Sheep mattered, but didn't do anything.
Numbers
Cris,
advantage for Coast here, though.
Face checks in. 3 versus 1. A lot of damage to CaliTrolz. In comes Slooshi. Can he turn it around? CaliTrolz down to 500 health. Cris loses a third of the health bar. Mancloud lands the Q, but not quite enough of it. And out goes the Irelia. Again, the attempt. Slooshi forced a flash away from the charm. A turret will go over to Coast for their trouble.
And now the other members of Team 8 are going to continue to press. There are 2 members in this mid lane. They have to worry about the wraparound, though, here from the remaining members of Coast.
And back they go. The problem is, whoa, nope, just kidding.
In they go.
Porpoise goes in. He's got no fear whatsoever. No, well, I guess the Scuttler did see the team was going in towards their own blue buff. We felt fairly safe. Mancloud's going to get that. No big deal here. But the 6-kill lead, Porpoise, if he EQs up, yeah, okay. Can't kill the pink ward, but he'll get it later.
He knows it's there. He'll come back for it. 4 warning hits. There's actually a lot of warning hits.
It's true.
Last one, he means business. But overall, Team 8, they're starting to lose a little bit of ward control in that deeper jungle. Coast are recovering slowly but surely. And a lot of that was off of that top play that CaliTrolz was picking a fight when he was outnumbered. He had to back up. They blew Slooshi's flash. He wouldn't have had to blow his flash if that wasn't the situation. They give up that turret, too. So Coast gets a little bit of ground back.
Yeah, it's good that they are not, as you said, sort of rolling over. They have given away some advantages, but they are certainly not playing past the game ends in front of them. And it's good that they are. You just have to make sure that you choose the right objective to contest, the right plays to make, and that's always the difficulty of League of Legends and why it's hard to shot call from behind. But Coast hoping to turn the tide in this game. CaliTrolz on a flank, kills a ward pretty easily. You can see teammate hoping to strangle away Vision.
Yep, it's going to be bottom middle here between the 2 of them for Team 8. Cali does have the option of shoving top wave too.
Wow.
Because he does have his teleport available, and he also got the green ward dropper. So he's going to be in a good spot to split push eventually.
And I really like that choice to pick up the...
Ooh.
Yeah, that happens.
So,
and Void Staff's next. It gets worse soon. Giant shields on the turret.
Siege on mid lane. This is going down very quickly.
And it just doesn't even matter. A lot of damage on the Sivir means that turret dies right away. The Jarvan too tanky to die. With the 3 kills, he got a giant spell and enough health to survive. Exactly.
Now go bottom. You push the wave. They get to rotate on this. They get all the vision. Coast can't go an unsafe route, so they have to go the long way on fear of being caught out.
Yeah, and teammate even had the wards to put down to spot how the rotations were going. The Sight Stone for
Oh, they land the charm.
Oh, they're going to try. The turret's almost gone. It gets shielded by Janna, though, and they can't quite all in it. But they still kill the Rek'Sai, but now CaliTrolz in a bad spot, and the backside mash will find Dodo and teammate. Maybe a little bit too aggressively. That turret helping quite a bit, making it a 2-1 for Coast.
That turret stayed up a lot longer than it should have, but the charm landing from Mancloud was perfect. Right on the backside of the turret, was able to pick up a 2-for-1 there for Coast. They're getting some ground back, but it's what they do with these kills. They're going to have to shove this bottom wave up and get a turret in response. You're going to see it here, hitting CaliTrolz and immediately flash, twisted advance, Impaler's in there at the same time with the knockup. Really good collapse by Coast there. And then they separate Dodo and pick him off at the end of the fight.
Yeah, really nice layered AoE there by Team Coast. The playmaking was just there, just barely, and you just imagine what would have happened if they had the gold to have 1 or 2 more sort of backing items to make that team fight work a bit better. Bot lane outer goes down as well, and Team Coast have equalized the outer turret line. Teammates' advantage, though, was still the fact that they have taken 2 of the second tier.
It's so hard to slingshot back, though, when your tier 2s are taken and having to get their tier 2s. It's a whole lot of distance to cover without any defense. Yeah. You hope that your team has something to disengage, and they do. They have the Janna. They have something that'll stop these engages, but it's a Sivir. She could run you down very easily.
She can run you down, and that makes life hard sometimes, so Team Coast have to make very smart choices. I do, however, think that Janna into Sivir is pretty strong, because Sivir's move speed is front-loaded. So if you jump on in and the 2 to 4 seconds runs out based on ulti rank, you get knocked back. Then you're down to like this kind of mediocre move speed buff that you can kite away from for the rest of it. So there are some good things to be said about this Coast team comp and how it's going to interact with teammate. Problem is, interactions don't mean as much when a gold lead's this big. Dragon number 2 should be pretty clean for teammate as well, and they are continuing to, despite losing the occasional team fight, controlling the map.
Yep. Oh, Cris and Cali going at it again. Oh, Impaler got caught.
And Ignite is all that he needs. Distortion unrequired, and suddenly Cris in the wrong side of this one. He does jump on over to Slooshi, but is the damage going to be enough? Misses the E, and in comes Mancloud that looks to try to make the play, can't quite do it. In comes Dodo. He lands the hook on Mancloud. Do they have enough damage, though? Yes, they do. First one comes in comes Porpoise, but Sheep has something to say about this one. Cris surviving for a couple of seconds. They do trade a kill back, but Sheep will finally die under the turret. making an overall 4 for 1.
This is the teammate that people saw glimpses of in the first few weeks. This type of team fight. Very hectic, all in, 4 for 1 trade in favor of teammate. They get themselves a turret, catching Impaler out and immediately capitalizing off of it with the collapse. Great call there by teammate to know their limits and know how far they can go. Impaler used his ultimate to get to the wolves there, and then he wasn't looking. He was watching CaliTrolz fighting Cris, and that's why he didn't sense him with the tremor sense. They continue to draw this out. Everybody's collapsing. MASH is doing red at this point. MASH is way across the map. They know he's doing it too. They saw him with the ward, so they say go. This is a 4-on-5, guaranteed. With Rek'Sai out of the fight, it's a 4-on-3. Cris out, boom. They keep going. They tank the turret. maplestreet will stand there and take as many shots as he can, and then the minion wave is up there to do the rest of the work.
And you can see what teammate can do with a gold lead and with some turrets being down to allow them this sort of free-flowing, running across the map, picking Coast off unaware, and it seems like Coast, unfortunately, are still in the business of rolling over in these games. They are trying to find the advantages, but they're not executing them very well. They're still falling behind early on, as well as in the mid-game. Teammate now looking to snowball the lead with a 28-minute Baron here. That Coast, at this point, are so beat down they can't contest.
They have no idea. They don't have the ward coverage for this, and teammate has kind of strangled off that left side of the map from them completely.
So teammate maybe on the up and up here. Of course, Dignitas, someone they are fighting in the standings with, did just win a few minutes ago, meaning that teammate still have a lot of work to move on up in the standings. Good for them that they can drop down teams like Coast, who are below them, but unfortunately for these boys in blue, they have not managed to find a winning formula in 5 weeks now. It's very worrying for the fans here.
Whenever I'd watch teammates' games in Challenger, the games where Slooshi carried were the more controlled games. The games where CaliTrolz carried were the very hectic games where he would end up with like 10 kills on a Fizz, and it's like, what is he doing? He's going absolutely crazy. And sometimes the rest of his team would suffer from like the dives and the over-aggression. When Slooshi has a lot of the goal, this is what happens. It's very controlled, poke somebody out, get an objective.
Keep in mind, Mancloud has an Abyssal Scepter, so he actually has magic resist, and it just doesn't matter.
Void Staff has something to say about that.
It does. Be worse without it.
I know, definitely. Oh, I'm not going to argue that point.
Yeah. But,
Split push coming out here from CaliTrolz. Baron buff, splitting it up is a great strategy. Chris is going to sit in it and try to tank some.
buys time for MASH. Smart choice.
Oh, but that's a number allocation of 2 people to the top. They get to shove this mid with maplestreet being in a safe range.
Ooh, nice play there. Baits out the charm. They try to push down this middle turret, and they get a little bit of work done, but Maple has to be afraid. Being Sivir that short range makes him a bit scared. Mancloud gets the McHales in time to live.
And that's Mancloud back to the fountain again. He's basically walked up, thrown an orb and a charm in a hope that it hits, and then he's back to the fountain. Home guard. Good investment by Mancloud. He spent a lot of time there, but look at this.
Good rotation. They take down the inhibitor turret, but CaliTrolz forced to run away right off the bat, but they've already killed Janna. Now Cris stuck in the catalyst, trying to run away. Nope, he's going to die as well. Double kill for Slooshi, and already teammate have control over the inhibitor. The goal just too much for them to lose any of these fights. There's just no damage coming across. Mancloud also forced back, and now the switch to the middle inhibitor turret as well. Should be pretty swift.
They have 1 minion here. It's going to take it, and that's going to be enough to lower the stats. They end up getting to this inhibitor. 2 now down from Coast. Their base just immediately just gets cracked open and peeled apart.
Yeah. So teammate, they've got the pick of the litter now. All right, great. Baron buff still there. We can heal up, get back across the map. Some of their deep wards still there. Double inhibs dead mean they own absolute map control for 4 minutes, like 4 minutes straight right now. The Dragon's up in a minute.
They just wail on this turret, and they end up taking up the turret before they continue the fight, which was the mistake that they had in the bottom lane fight, is they didn't kill the turret in time, and it assisted a ton of damage in that tier 2. So now they get to clean this fight up. They get to force their gold lead and their gold advantage, which just grew from 4K to 12 in the span of 7 minutes.
Absolutely great job by teammate of snowballing this lead. Looking for fights, sometimes recklessly, but at least they've been working out. CaliTrolz waiting for the minion wave to build up sort of together, have the melees kind of crunch. Then he can push that wave in. It'll create a lot of pressure for Coast to deal with. Bot lane now the dedicated siege, though, of the team. Baron buff has timed out, so they're only regular minions.
Teammate ended up winning a little bit of the laning phase, too. Off of aggression in the top lane, which was the bottom lane, and the mid lane, where Slooshi got that solo kill. Really opened up the map for them to start that snowball. That's where it all originated from. And look at this, these Coast just can't even put up a fight at this point. If this third inhibitor goes down, it's going to be very different from the TSM game where they had to defend 3.
It's very strange they were not willing to try defending the turret, but the inhibitor itself, they are. CaliTrolz lands a bit of a stun into Cris. The knockup comes through from Porpoise as well, and in comes the fight. Sheep separates them, and maybe they can pick up a kill, but the damage coming across trade zone to 1-for-1. Cris does limp away. No hook will land, but it does mean the 3 inhibs are down. Slooshi tries to make the outplay, cannot quite kill Mancloud, but there are minions in the base. Nexus turrets number 1 and 2 go down, but Coast are not done with this one. In the go for Dodo, forced to box and run. Gigantic minion waves. CaliTrolz looking for the play as well. They will trade another kill back on in. 2 offensive items on Irelia, and there are still super minions inside the base. Mancloud just barely limps away, but it's going to be enough for the game. Team 8 pick up their 4th win of the split. 2-0 against Coast.
And they desperately needed that to put more distance between themselves and the auto-relegation. And also to start getting into the conversation of the middle teams again. This team needs to go back to their roots, and we saw a lot of that there. The team fighting, the correct team fighting. That's when Team 8 looks best.
Yeah. Well, I gotta say though, some of that just feels like an insurmountable gold lead, saying that any fight you take is going to work. That bot lane tier 2 turret fight is one that I think of as like, you know, teammate, if you weren't ahead 6,000 gold right then, it would have been a pretty rough situation for you. If you hadn't gotten the Slooshi outplays in the mid lane, it would have been a rough situation for you. Of course, those things did exist, but it just feels like Team 8 still looking like Team 8, where it's like, yeah, these are the games you kind of expect them to win. Coast having a very rough split so far, and it's just sort of a fair bit of chaos with a gold lead.
A lot of chaos from Team 8.
It's fair.
A little bit more controlled this game.
Yeah.
A little bit more restraint. But even then, it just looks absolutely crazy. Slooshi, with a standout performance there, the solo kill in the mid lane really opened up the map, and Porpoise to be there to capitalize off of it. They really just kept tabs on Impaler coming into this game, knew where he was, and they would immediately push or apply pressure on the other side. When you know where the jungler is in your CaliTrolz, it allows you to go all in on your lane opponent.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, and it seemed like the lane aggression tended to be quite good. You mentioned the fact that they were keeping tabs on Impaler. I gotta agree, some good deep wards came in from Slooshi. Porpoise did some very similar things as well. Went for a Sightstone in the jungle, right? Tried to get the vision control to keep those plays from happening, and yeah, they kept Impaler down. His tools were fairly blunt, not much impaling done by that Rek'Sai. You know, some definitely good plays by Team 8. You know, we're 10 games in, and I just don't feel like they pass many scary tests.
The scary test.
Yeah. Right, they took down TSM once, and that was really good.
Yeah.
Right, but you're looking at right here where they stand in the standings. They're still in the promotion tournament zone. They're still down here in the sort of bottom 4 spots, and that's a rough situation to be in. Of course, it's a win, right? They're obviously moving up here, but I'm not convinced by them the same way I am by teams like C9 and Gravity, who really are surging up the standings.
Yeah. The thing here, though,